My name is Wendy, and I want to address the issue of human rights defenders from a personal perspective because I think this is an area that needs a lot of consideration and a lot of thought. Human rights defenders are people who get out of their way and they look at rights from a third eye, what I call a third eye, and they see that certain violations are going on, and instead of keeping quiet, they raise their voice and they say, this is what is supposed to be, and this is what ought to be. And as such, they begin to speak out, to voice it on behalf of the people, to voice it and say, this is wrong, it must be rectified, people's rights are being violated and infringed, and there needs to be a remedy. And they speak loudly about the issues. Human rights defenders can be women, can be men, can be old people, can be transgender, all sorts of people. People who feel that the issues they face are not being addressed. And this is basically world over. The situation is not unique to one country, it is world over. There are always people whose rights are being trampled on. However, I want to address the person, the human rights defender, the person, herself, himself. That person, what does that person go through? And a human rights defender, in my opinion, goes through a lot, a lot. And this show, I'll be talking about the women human rights defender. In another show, then I will talk about the human rights defenders as a whole. Now, for the women, I am a woman, a short history. From 1992, when I completed the University of Nairobi, after studying law, I went out to work for children living on the street. Then we were calling them street children. And I would literally go to every corner where the children hate themselves and pull them out and take them to a girls' rescue center. And there will begin the process of rehabilitating the children. And I realized one thing, that these children were not in school because their parents were not able to take them to school. And from then, my mind began asking itself questions. Why are some people different from the others? Why don't some people get some things in life? And on trying to get the answers to these questions, I found out that in many occasions, certain things are actually provided for in law. But in actual fact, they are not, the law is not realized on the ground. And after my work with street children, then I began asking different questions in life, speaking out, for the voice of who I call the voiceless. And I began raising the issues of children. They can go to school, and for many years, I did that. I worked with children going through the criminal justice system. I worked for women in prison. I've worked for children whose moms are in prison. And currently, I'm working on an indigenous rights project. So most of my life, I have spent my time speaking out on behalf of the person without a voice. And the basic reason is that I understand law and I understand what the law says. I understand how to interpret the law, how to apply the law. But unfortunately, most of the downtrodden people do not understand that. And many times they also don't understand that they have rights that are being trampled on. They have rights that are being violated, and they go through processes without even understanding who they are. But basically, a woman human rights defender goes through a lot. Remember, our society, especially back in Kenya, where I come from, and I'm doing this from the Netherlands, but in Kenya, where I come from, the place of the woman is the kitchen. The kitchen is the place of the woman. And when you go out of your way to now begin speaking about rights, the first reaction is, are you married? Do you have children? Where is your husband? Where are your children? Your place is in the kitchen. Yes? So there is already an internal system traditionally that rejects a woman as a defender. Now, the woman goes out in the field. Sometimes you work for long hours, long unpaid hours, and you go back home and yes, where have you been? What have you been doing? What have you brought home? And many times defenders are not paid, so they do not have the bread to take home after doing the work. After shouting, yeah, 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 on the street, we are shouting, yeah, 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 yeah. But after that, you have nothing to take home. Now, another incident is that a woman carries babies. So you could be in the field and you're expecting. And while you're in the field, life is really tough out there. Oh, life is really tough out there for women defenders. And what happens? You lose your baby. How do you explain that to your husband or your partner? He will never understand. What were you doing out there so that you could lose the baby? And that is really unique to women, because we are the only ones that carry the babies, and most defenders are younger, so they're still in their reproductive positive reproductive part of their life. Another thing that really affects the women human rights defenders is the stereotype, the stereotype placement of who a woman should be, what kind of jobs should she do, where should she be. She should be in the office, and it doesn't augur well when a woman has got to be out there, speaking out for other people. Worse still is the family impact. The family impact is really a major one, because many times, like in my case, initially my family members said, no, you're a smart lawyer, practice law, get a big job in the government, do big jobs and forget about the poor. Forget about the poor, forget about the people that have nothing to themselves. Practice law, make money, big money, and live a good life. Unfortunately, that was not in my heart. So I went out to speak. I remember my mother used to make fun and say, you go to Kisumu, you collect somebody. You go to Nyeri, you collect somebody. You go to Nairobi, you collect somebody. You're all over collecting poor people. Leave them alone. They will never help you. But I never stopped. I continued. Now, the biggest challenge of a woman human rights defender is finances. Finances. Can you imagine what it is like for a woman to come from a big conference and you're riding high out there in the international field, in the national field, and you carry your bags, you're back home, and the moment you get home, you get a padlock on your door. The landlord has shut your door. You haven't paid rent. Where are your children? Your children are at the neighbor's place. Your neighbor rescued the children and she's very angry because how could you leave your children to go and do whatever you're doing? The demands are too high for the woman human rights defender. Remember, the woman is the one that takes care of children, and that's the perceived role of a woman. A woman is supposed to be taking care of children. If the children get bad, then who is to blame? The woman. So a major challenge is the economic part of it. I cracked a joke the other day and I asked somebody, do you think an employer would give you a job, when the employer knows that you're the kind of person who is always on the street fighting for people's rights? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. And just to cut this clip short, one of the things that I would want to add is that then, as a result of that, is animosity that develops between you and your children. You know, sometimes your children are like, "Mommy, you know, you're not supposed to be doing this. Mommy, please pick a job, you know, and stay on it. Mommy, please, you know, you can be different. You know, many times your children also don't understand why you're doing what you're doing, and that's a major challenge with women human rights defenders. There are many more that we could talk about. If you have any questions, you're free to ask me. You can talk to me. You can call my number. I am on 0722883959. The code for Kenya is 254. You can send me a text on WhatsApp, and I'll get back to you on the issues that we go through as women human rights defenders. Thank you. Ciao.